Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place. So how many of you are still playing Game On? Doing your minutes every day? Every day? You're using your cheat minutes when you need to? But you're playing Game On, right? So Monday night I got back from teaching class here, and I didn't have all my minutes in, so I went for a walk at 10 o'clock at night. Woo! Man, it was about 1 billion degrees. The last time I make that mistake, trying to get my minutes in after 10 o'clock at night. Whoa, how much fun are we having at night? Thank you very much. I got to go finish my minutes tonight too, so you'll see me. So, okay, hey, so you ready for tonight? I'm ready. Okay, so we're playing this 30-day fitness challenge, right? And it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And really what I want us to look at tonight is, what's your definition of fitness? Because we can do all this stuff, right, for 30 days, right? But if we don't really have a vision for where we're going, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we'll do it for a short term, and then we'll kind of let it go because it was fun and we could win prizes. I mean, what church provides prizes? I love that about us, right? So when it comes to your physical, being physically fit, what's that mean to you now? Does that mean you can walk a mile? Does that mean you're going to hike from rim to rim the Grand Canyon? What does physically fit mean to you? Does that mean you can get out of the car and walk to the church? I mean, what does that mean to you, right? How many of you remember the President's Fitness Challenge when you were a little kid? Like in school, right? So I went back up and looked up what that was, because I just was curious, right? And it's like from 6 years old to 17, every year they kind of increase the mark of what the President's Fitness Challenge is. So I'm going to give you what it is for a 17-year-old, because I know that all of you are just already hitting it out of the park for this one, right? So at 17, to qualify, and this is the top 15% of graduating high school students are supposed to be able to do this. So I'm sure we can all do this, right? So here it is, 17 years old. That means you can do 55 sit-ups in less than a minute. You can do the shuttle run, which is 30 feet apart, and you run back and forth, picking up the thing, the little piece, the block, taking it to the other side, running back, grabbing in the next block, and taking it over. So it's back and forth. You have to be able to do that in less than 8.7 seconds. No problem, right? You have a vertical reach. You know what I mean by vertical reach? So when you're like touching your toes, you can actually go 7 inches further than your toes. Well, you like that one, did you? All right. So a vertical reach of +7. You can run a mile at under 6 minutes, 6 seconds. Done, no problem. And the kicker is that you can do 13 pull-ups in a row. No problem, right? How many of you think you could just nail that right now? Fuzzy. Well, there you go. Fuzzy's got it, right? Amen, Fuzzy. You are our idol. Right? So here's the deal. So what's your definition now for this place in your life of being physically fit? Right? And I really want you to have a definition of that, what it looks like that you're actually moving toward, so that when you get there, you know that you've arrived. What about mentally? You know, when we say mental fitness, a lot of times it kind of means psychological fitness, that we're kind of, you know, pulling both the oars in the same direction, right? But what does it really mean to you to be mentally fit? One of the ways that I began to really look at this is that mental fitness for me is the ability to engage and overcome challenges, to achieve goals, to move my life forward. that mentally I have the ability to look at problems and challenges and problems and say, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be? And mentally I can solve those problems to move my life forward. And the other aspect of mental fitness for me is that I don't spend a lot of time in self-doubt. Because when I'm in mentally fit, I'm not wasting a lot of mental energy on things that aren't useful. And I believe that self-doubt is not helpful. And for most of us, for many of us, for some of us, we spend a lot of time in self-doubt. And one of the things we really focused on last week was really how to get a hold of your own thought process so that you're actually master of your own thoughts. And instead of your thoughts just being all over the place, you're actually intentionally. And how many of you created your power statements this week? Did anybody? We got a few that created their power statements so that when our mind starts to go in all different directions, we have a way to bring it back with those things that are the most important to us. All right? Without spending an enormous amount of time in self-doubt. Now, tonight we're going to go on to emotional fitness. And this one seems the little bit the most obscure, right? If you asked 100 people on the street what emotional fitness means, I'm not sure many people could give you an answer, right? How many of you today think you could have a definition of what emotional fitness means to you? We got 4. Thank you. All right. Woohoo, right? So here's what I want us to begin to play with as an idea of what emotional fitness is. That I'm responsible for what I'm feeling and that I can change it. Okay? So I believe that that's a sign of true emotional fitness. When that you know that you're 100% responsible for what you're feeling and that you have the ability to change your feelings, your emotions, that you're not feeling victimized by your own feelings. Have you ever had a moment or an experience where emotionally you were sliding fast and you didn't feel like you could do anything to correct the situation? I think probably all of us have. Like we've been sad or depressed or whatever, and it just seems like we were sliding in the wrong direction. Well, I believe emotional fitness is that we actually have the ability to change what we're feeling. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about your ability to not only be aware of what you're feeling, but also to be able to change it. So how many of you know what you're feeling right now? And confusion is not a feeling. Right? So a couple of us know what we're feeling. What I want you to begin to see over and over again is that I want you to be aware of what you're feeling. Now, when you're responsible for your feelings, does that mean that no one can hurt your feelings? How many want to vote for yes? How many want to vote for no? I'm actually going to land in the no category. I'm going to land in the camp that you can still get your feelings hurt and still be responsible for that feeling, right? That you can get your feelings hurt. How many of you have maybe a person in your life who's really unskilled in how they communicate with you? Right? And so when they communicate with you, it's kind of like, ooh, there's a high probability that there's going to be a gut clench in the middle of the conversation at some point, right? Ooh, right? Now, I'm not saying that if you're being emotionally fit, that you're not going to have a reaction to that, right? But what I want you to see more important than that is that you get to decide how long you stay in that reaction and what you do with it. So that you're not sliding down the slippery slope, that you actually have the ability to decide from moment to moment to moment what you're going to feel and how you're going to feel. So that's the thing that I think really allows us to be emotionally fit, is when we get to decide how good we want to feel. Because I believe that most people feel their good feelings are in a range that doesn't vary very much. And for some of us, that range is pretty low, and for some of us, it's higher. But what I want you to actually look at tonight is what if you consciously made the decision to feel better than you normally feel. Can you guys throw the slide up for, how many of you have ever read the stuff on, or anything about Abraham Hicks, right? Right? Can you see that all right? Because what happens, what they give you in Abraham Hicks is 22, excuse me, turn me off for a second. Okay, I don't think I was off. All right, turn me back on. What they do is they give you a range of 22 feelings, right? The number one is joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation. The highest spiral. The lowest spiral is fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, and victimization, right? That's 22. And what their whole thing is that every feeling has energy attached to it, has a vibrational rate. And what if, instead of sliding downward, we learn how to take our feelings higher? So if you looked at all these things, so it goes from passion to enthusiasm to positive expectation and beliefs, optimism, hopefulness, contentment. Then it goes, now we're on the other side. It goes to boredom, pessimism, frustration, overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, personal favorite. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Right? 19 is hatred and rage, jealousy. 21, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness. 22, fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, and victimization. So what if you tell yourself the truth, where is it that you're usually hanging out on that scale? Are you on the upswing or the downswing? And if you're on the upswing or if you're on the downswing, what would it look like if you took the next step in your emotional life? You know, like when you work out with weights, right? Anybody that's ever worked out with weights knows that after you do weights for a few weeks even, your body instantly gets strong enough to move to the next set of weights, right? To the next weight up, right? Now, what if emotionally that was just as true? What if you've been hanging out in boredom, right? And you actually decide, you know, boredom really isn't as much fun as it used to be, right? It's better than rage, right? But it's not really very much fun. After a while, boredom really gets kind of boring, right? And what if you decided you wanted to move just to the next one up? What if you just moved from boredom to contentment? Now you think, well, from bored to contentment, well, would that be a significant change? I think it would. For most of us, if we move from anger or rage to peace or contentment, it would be a significant change in our emotional life. And what I want you to begin to see is that your emotional fitness means that you actually get to decide your emotional set point. You get to decide. And if you're not thrilled, let's kick it up. Let's actually work out some of those higher emotions that maybe you don't spend as much time in as you'd like to, or that you could, right? Because for some of us, we're spending a lot of time at the low end of the emotional pool. And what would it feel like if you got happy? And what would it feel like if you got happy consistently? Other than it freak your family out, it would be a ton of fun for you to be happy most of the time, right? Now, what I want you to see, that if you're living in anger most of the time, moving to happiness may be too big of a jump. But let's just start where you are. Let's just take one more step up. So what would it look like, feel like, be like if you actually began to work out emotionally? What would that look like? If every day before you went to bed, you said, okay, so I would give myself emotionally, even if you did it 1 through 10. So every night before you go to bed, if you say to yourself, you know, emotionally, I really feel like I was a 4 today, or a 6, or an 8. And tomorrow, I'm going to really strive to be even 1% happier, 5% happier, 10% happier, that I want to actually emotionally work out. Because I want to be happier than I've ever been before. And what I want you to see is for many of us, this is the workout that would change everything. And what's interesting is, if you do the physical and the mental, have you noticed that if you do your walking or your exercise, whatever your exercise is, and you begin to really change the way you're thinking, emotionally, you begin to feel better automatically. Have you been feeling that the last couple of weeks? Right? That if you're actually doing your exercises every day, you're going to feel better. Right? Now the question then becomes, how good can you feel? How much joy can you tolerate before your system melts down? Right? Like, could you be that happy all the time? And we think about this as, well, it's not really that important. But what if it is the most important thing? What if it's the thing that's actually creating everything in your life? Because that's the thing that I fully embraced from the Abraham Hicks material, is that our dominant feeling is the thing that's creating everything else. So your life is organizing around your dominant feeling. So wherever you emotionally live is the strongest catalyst to create your future, right? So would you rather have sadness creating your emotional in your life, or would you rather have profound joy? Because both of those have the power to create your future. I am profoundly happy. Will you say that with me? I am profoundly happy. Okay, you get about a 2 for that one. So let's try that again, right? One more time. I am profoundly happy. One more time, just for grins. I am profoundly happy. Now, how many of you feel like happiness is just too much work? Right? It's like, well, that's too much work. I'm just going to kind of hang out here. Like, all my friends are depressed. I'm going to be depressed too. Like, all my friends are overwhelmed. I'm going to be overwhelmed too. All my friends are cranky. I'm going to be cranky too. Right? And 100%, because you have free will, emotionally, you get to pick the set point. Abraham Lincoln said people are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. Right? Right? So the reality is that you get to set your emotional set point. And what I want you to see is that we don't ever, rarely, did anyone ever teach you when you were growing up that you could work out your emotions. Right? What happened was, for most of us, the way that we were raised is the important people in our life really felt like everybody else was responsible for what they were feeling. Everybody was a big emotional victim. And nobody said, wow, that was a tough situation, but I learned to really be happy in it. That would have changed everything. So over and over again in this project of this 30-day challenge, you have 10 minutes to do emotional workouts. If you did 10 minutes of emotional workouts every day, it would change your life. Because every day, if you spent 10 minutes deciding how happy you wanted to be and actually began to feel higher and higher levels of happiness, it would change everything. So there's 3 levels of workout that I want to give to you tonight. The first one is, I want you to really look at the first thing in the emotional workout is identifying. The first one is identify. So I want you to identify what you're feeling. So how many of you can go days or weeks without really knowing, and you don't have to raise your hand, but I just want you to look, right? Can go days or weeks without really knowing what you're feeling? Hours? What I want you to see that the part of our emotional workout is just identifying what we're feeling. Oh, today I've got a low-grade depression going on. Or today I'm happy as heck, right? I want you to actually be able to identify what you're feeling. And the way that I want you to do this, if this is this thing you want to work on the most, is I want you to spend 10 minutes a day asking yourself 2 questions. What am I feeling and what do I want? What am I feeling and what do I want? Just so that you know, oh, I'm not very happy. Really? I wonder how long this has been going on. Like forever? Right? So what am I feeling and what do I want? So that you get to identify what you're feeling. Because you can't change anything you can't name. You can't change anything you're not conscious of. So the first step in working out our emotions is just being able to name it. Oh, when my kids were small, we had an emotional chart up on the wall. Because sometimes they couldn't name what they were feeling. So then we had pictures. The happy one, all the way through to the sad one. We had the angry one, the jealous one. We had the pictures of all the feelings. And so even if they couldn't say it out loud, they could, even when they were little, they could go and they could point to the chart and say, I'm feeling this. And it's like, okay, so now what do you want to do with it? But you had to be able to name it before you can change it. So over and over again for 10 minutes a day, if all you do is say, what am I feeling and what do I want, your emotional life is going to get stronger. It's going to get healthier. Okay, so the first thing is identification. The next level then is clearing. That once we identify it, do you want to hang on to it or do you want to let it go? How many of you through the course of any day know that you have several emotions that it would be best for you to let go of? Right? So we identify and then we clear. How do we clear? We journal, we share with others, we do our forgiveness work. And one of the things I want you to see that's so helpful is I believe that one of the best ways to clear emotions is to get your head underwater. I think swimming, shower, bathing is an incredible way of just rinsing your system off, that it just helps. Like if you're having a big feeling, go swim for a little bit. And it's amazing, you get out and you just feel better. So the first level is, all you gotta do is identify it. The second level, you clear it, you journal, you write it, you call a friend and say, man, I am hot, I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm sad. Because in AA, they teach that we're only as sick as our secrets. Have you ever heard that before? Right? And so when you share your feelings with another child of God, you get a sense of freedom because somebody can hear you and love you right where you are. Now, the third choice on an emotional workout is what I call recalibration. It's when you know you're having a feeling and you decide you want to experience another feeling. So you don't pretend you're not feeling it. You really allow yourself to feel, I'm feeling sad or overwhelmed or anger or jealous, whatever it is, and you say, but do I really want to continue to feel that? Well, part of me does, right? Part of me really likes being the saddest person in the room. Or part of me really likes being jealous or angry or whatever it is. And then they ask the question, but do you want to stay there? Well, no. How fun is it to be there? Kind of, but not really. So what feeling would you rather have? Well, I'd rather be happy. I'd rather be at peace. I'd rather know joy. I'd rather be content. And then you begin to recalibrate. You begin to shift emotionally to higher and higher levels of feelings. Because the truth is that the ecstasy of God is right there. See, can you throw the chart back up there? There it is. Great. Now, if you look at the number one feeling, joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, what I want you to see is ecstasy isn't even listed. Because so few people are even close to living there that they don't even put it on the chart. If we get to joy, we're close enough. Right? If you take a world of cranky people and you get them to joy, you've made a substantial change on the planet, right? But what I want you to see is that there's higher levels of life than joy. And you know, in our culture, we only have like 2 words for ecstasy. Like we'll say bliss or we'll say ecstasy. We only have 2 words because so few people get there that we just don't need more words than that. And I want you to see, as you begin to emotionally work out, the ecstasy of God is right there. You get to be profoundly happy, like profoundly elated. Well, Richard, you can't really be that happy. Life is hard. Yes, it is. But if you look at some of the masters, some of the great souls, they were ecstatic because they knew their oneness with God. Right? That we're here absolutely to touch the ecstasy of God. And you can stay in your cranky place for as long as you want to. But the ecstasy of God is always waiting for us to learn to play at that level. So can I talk one more thing, and then we are going to close. I want to just talk about your nervous system for a second. Because your nervous system really is designed by God to be able to look at the face of God and survive. Okay? So your nervous system is actually designed to be able to plug into the ecstasy of God and live. Right? Now, the way that most of us use our nervous system is absolutely the opposite of that. We are using our system backwards. The way that most of us are using our nervous system is how much pain can I tolerate and keep moving, right? So we're using it backwards. So we're using it to see how much pain can we stack into our system, fill ourselves with, and keep moving. And you know, when we were in elementary school, we got little prizes. You know, if we had perfect attendance, if we were so sick but we dragged ourselves out of bed day after day after day, we got an award for that, right? Right? So we teach people how to be miserable and keep moving. We actually teach people how to use their nervous system incorrectly. Because your nervous system is actually designed to be ecstatic, to be able to touch the very presence of God, to see the face of God. Paul said, now I see in the mirror dimly, but one day I'll see face to face. So we're actually designed for the ecstasy of God. But if we don't start emotionally working out, we kind of get in our family's emotional set point, and maybe we take one step higher, maybe we take 2 steps higher, but we never get to ecstasy. And if this 30-day challenge, you began to emotionally work out in a significant way of really first identifying what you're feeling and then releasing your feelings and then recalibrating to higher and higher levels of feeling, if you actually took this 30-day challenge and began to really practice it in meaningful and powerful ways, you can actually live in the ecstasy of God. You could actually die as the happiest person you know. Because getting older doesn't have to mean getting crankier, right? It's modeled that way for us, but it's not really designed for that. So you ready for your homework? I want you to actually begin to ask yourself, what level do you want to play at, right? Do you need help in identifying your emotions? Is that the place where you need to start in this 30 days? Do you need to ask yourself over and over again, what am I feeling and what do I want? All right? Or do you know what you're feeling and you feel overwhelmed by how much you feel? Are you overwhelmed by the amount of feelings that you go through in a day? Do you need practice every day, releasing those, giving those to God, journaling, sharing them with a friend, doing your forgiveness work? Is for you, is it about releasing? Is it about releasing over and over again all those feelings so that you can know yourself and just have a space beyond all your feelings? Or is your emotional fitness program this month really about recalibrating? Is about taking the emotions where you are, where you live, and saying, but I want to take that higher. I know how to do this. I want to be profoundly happy. What if I could actually begin to touch the ecstasy of God? Because what you find out, if you actually begin to engage this, that happiness is not an addition problem. It's not about getting your life right. It's actually a subtraction problem. What thought, what feeling, what belief, what attitude would I have to let go of to be in the ecstasy of God. That we keep trying to add all the right stuff to make us happy. And what I want you to see is that really what you're going to learn is it's really about subtracting. It's about subtracting all the things that are bringing you down, that are depressing you. The thoughts, the judgments, the attitudes that are disempowering you. 10 minutes a day. If you spend 10 minutes a day working out emotionally, you are going to be a different individual. You are going to be happier than 99% of the people in the world. Tonight, make the inner commitment that you're actually going to emotionally work out. That you're going to do the emotional work necessary to be happier than you've ever been before. And if you take this on, your life will be different. Will you pray with me? And I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God that is right here, right now. God, I give you every feeling I've ever had. Whatever feeling I've stored or held, whatever feeling I've gone through, whatever experience, whatever it's been, God, I purge my soul of every old feeling. Holy Spirit, wash them away. Holy Spirit, take them away. I give them all to you, God. I hold nothing back. Today, help me be happier than I've ever been before. Lift me to higher and higher levels of joy and peace and maybe even ecstasy. Let me know how profoundly good it feels to be created in your image and in your likeness. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, and so it is. Amen.